We saw so many people just logging out of India that we grew up in. And there was this whole feeling that, you're better off anywhere else than our own country. There was not a single news of change or solution or initiative, of hope, of resilience, of courage that was being reported anywhere. So we just started the Better India as an experiment. Positive news doesn't sell. There's no point you guys doing this, because this is something tried and tested and we know it doesn't work. They never feel like they're doing something extraordinary. Someone had to do it. All the heroes we cover are the ones who don't wear capes. They're just all around us. Entrepreneurship is also getting very over romanticized. Boredom is so undervalued today that boredom is what leads to creativity, to new thinking, to thinking out of the box. Social media is an echo chamber. And all of it's algorithm driven.
Today, parenting is difficult. It's very difficult because we are parenting in the age of technology.
There is no point in shielding your children because AI is here. It's here to stay. You really have to be able to guide them on the more constructive use of technology. Most of the time, the stress that children feel is the stress that parents pass on. Examinations is just one form of feedback. It doesn't define the person that you are. Inspiration doesn't come in large moments. It's really a build-up of small incremental steps that leads to larger movements of change. And what I would really like every Indian to be is to be a part of the solution rather than being a part of the problem.
Welcome to Unscripted with Joyce. Here we have intentional and sushegad conversations that flow straight from the heart. This isn't about perfect timelines or tidy success stories. It's about the pauses, the pivots, and the questions that we didn't have answers to, and the journeys that have shaped us into who we've become today. Recorded from the beautiful lands of Goa, where life moves with rhythm and reflection. This space is truly inspired by the Goan spirit. Slow, soulful, and deeply human. I'm Joyce, and this space is an invitation to slow down and to listen. My guest for today is someone whose work millions of us have encountered much before we even know the person behind it. She is the co-founder of the Better India, a platform that has redefined storytelling in India by focusing on what's going right in India. Stories of innovation, resilience, and ordinary people creating an extraordinary change. But beyond the impressive professional journey, today's conversation is a very personal one for me. I first met her about 2 years ago, not in the boardroom, nor in the traditional startup ecosystem, but in a space which is familiar to many parents, at school. Our sons happen to be in the same class at school. And what started as a casual conversation, a couple of coffee meetups between two school moms, have slowly turned into a friendship that I truly cherish and deeply value. So yes, today's conversation is very special because behind the entrepreneur and changemaker is a mother navigating teenage years, examinations, aspirations, and the everyday realities of the parenting world. Today, we are not just going to talk about building startups or creating an impact through storytelling, but we are going to explore the human side of this journey and what it takes to raise a teenager in today's world and in today's educational setup. So help me in welcoming the very beautiful, the talented, the soul behind the Better India and my dear friend, Anuradha Kedia. Anu, welcome to Unscripted with Joyce. It is such a huge pleasure to have you with me today. And I know we're going to have a blast like we always do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joyce, for having me on your show. I am so excited for you. I think this you are such a natural at this. So I'm happy to see you taking up podcasting and all the very best to you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anu. That means a lot to me. Well, before we start, Unscripted is about raw stories, real stories, and there can't be anybody better than you to give me these raw stories. So, before we start about talking about the better India, and the millions of lives it touches on a everyday basis, take us a little back. The Anu before all of this, before the headlines, before the movement, the success. Tell us all about that Anu.
All right. So let me start from the beginning. I grew up in Bangalore. I was probably a little bit of an introvert child. I think I'm still pretty much, an introvert person. I do not, I shy away from the limelight even today. So this is very, very unusual for me, Joyce. Um, but growing up, I think I was more of, I was a studious kid. I was great at science, and I did well at school. I went on to doing my engineering in Bangalore, like a lot of kids in Bangalore do, before you figure out life. So that's the path that I took as well. But I was genuinely interested in learning. I was quite a curious child. I think some of the traits which I carry till today. It was a quiet city, Bangalore, when we were growing up. Much like I would say today, what I see in Panjim after I moved here, I see a lot of the old traits of Bangalore in Panjim, and I think that's the reason that Goa was calling me, since the last so many years, because Bangalore has become such a crazy place today. But it was a lovely childhood. I would say it was a very probably very typical Indian middle class upbringing that I had. I still have a lot of friends and family in Bangalore. It's a lovely place to visit whenever we go. And I grew up to do my engineering. I went on from there to join the corporate world for a few years. I was working at Infosys Technologies for some time. I was working in the real estate sector for some time. And then I went on to do my MBA at the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. Post which I again joined a consultancy firm for a few years. After which we pursued the Better India when we started the Better India in 2007. As a side project. So that was a different time. I would say it was just the very nascent stages of the internet, and it was a whole different era, from what we see today. It was, I would say, a simple life, Joyce. It was, life seemed so much more uncomplicated at that point of time, as in the 80s and 90s when we were growing up. Quieter times, quieter days, less stimulation than what we see today all around us. It's just, I have such fond memories of my childhood and all the friends and the schools that we went to and everything.
Wow, that's lovely to hear, Anu. This side of you before Better India, your childhood, your college days, your corporate world. It's lovely to see you. And today, the Better India is one of the most inspiring platforms when it comes to positive journalism. But I believe that every idea starts with a moment. Was there any moment in your life where you stopped, you paused, and you thought, this needs to exist? What was that moment before Better India came into being?
Yeah, I wish I had a story of a moment, but that's really not how the Better India came into the being. I didn't have like maybe Gautam Buddha. I did not have a moment of enlightenment.
Okay.
It was really a journey that led to the Better India.
Okay.
Right? It was a series of emotions. As you see things around you, a lot of observation, a lot of events that add up, right? Like it's more of a matter of the environment rather than a particular moment.
Yes.
An environment, a period of time, things building up. So what we saw around us, and this is both Dimant and I who founded the Better India back in 2007. The way the reason it came into being was more about our conversations and observations around what was happening around us. We saw so many people just logging out of the India that we grew up in. So
Yes.
I felt that there was so much of a sense of hopelessness and despair among our friends and family and everyone we interacted with, where people really felt that there was so much broken in our country. So many, we were just surrounded by problems, but there were no solutions. There was nothing good that was happening.
Yes.
And there was this whole feeling that, you're better off anywhere else than our own
Yes, I
country.
think that I can relate to that because a similar thing happened in Goa as well. There was
Right.
this time when everybody wanted to go to the Gulf or they wanted to
Hmm.
go on the ship. So
Yeah.
many of them, and
Yeah.
and I know a lot of them thought there was no future in India.
In India,
Yes.
exactly. So we grew up in that environment
Mhm.
where most people around us felt that there was no point staying back in this country. If you wanted to be successful, if you wanted to achieve something, you had to move out. We saw most of our friends giving their SATs and GREs and all of those things and moving abroad for their masters and things like that. So we really started questioning whether this, was there really nothing in this country that could help people stay back, that people could do, that all of us, each one of us, could do to make a difference. And if each one
Yes.
of us did their own little part, a small contribution from each of us, could that lead to a larger movement of change?
Yes.
So the way this came into being, I mean, we like to say that yes, it came about as a conversation when we were having tea one morning and we were reading the newspaper once again, and as every day, and we just saw the same news of scams and corruption and
Yes.
theft and everything negative that you could come across. The newspapers were filled with those. And I don't blame the newspapers. I'm not saying that you shouldn't report news, but at the same time, there was not a single news of change or solution or
hope.
initiative, of hope, of
Yes.
resilience, of courage that was being reported anywhere, even in the tiniest part of the paper. And we felt that this was not the true depiction of our country.
Yes.
Yes, there were a lot of problems, and which country doesn't have it? But there are so many things that are going right as well. And
Correct.
both Himant and I also worked with organizations, we worked with NGOs who were making a difference. And we knew a lot of individuals around us who were, contributing to society in their own ways. And none of this was getting any spotlight.
Yes.
It was only sensational negative news that was hogging all the limelight, which we felt was not right.
Yes.
So the media landscape was so skewed on one side of the spectrum, whereas we felt that there was a sort of a balance needed. There was
Yes.
nothing being reported on the other side.
Right.
So we just started the Better India as an experiment to see what can happen if we start telling these stories of hope, of change, of initiative, of innovation, and how people would respond to it, right? Because now, that was a time when people were getting onto the internet. It was early days of the internet, but
Yes.
there were people starting to use blogs, and social media was very nascent. Facebook had just started back then, so there were people starting to use the internet for change. Like there were some moments of spark, like there was the ice bucket challenge and small things like that.
Yes.
Small movements that were sparking in different parts of the world. And we felt that it would be an interesting experiment to see what happens if you report stories of change and hope.
Yeah. So did you start writing about this on like a
Yes.
blog post?
That's right. So we
Okay.
started our own blog called Blogspot back then.
Okay.
And this is where we started reporting stories like this, stories of change makers. Over weekends, we would cover stories like this. So this was along with our day jobs. So it was either sometimes in the evenings or weekends. In and around Bangalore, we would meet people and cover their stories.
Okay.
And that's really how it started in a very
Oh.
small way, as a side project, as really a passion project that we felt we
So
just
you
wanted
still
to try.
had your regular
Yes.
jobs.
Yes. This was
Okay.
this was never intended to be a full-time, career or enterprise for either of us. We were just thinking that we felt so strongly about telling stories of change, of people doing something. It just felt something that we need to do. It wasn't something that we felt would ever become a full-time enterprise for either of us.
When you and Dimant started the Better India, for those of you who don't know Dimant, he's the husband of Anu, and we very lovingly and fondly call them the power couple, and they are the ones. They are the ones who are responsible for the revolution called the Better India. And when you started this, did you ever imagine at any point in time that it's going to reach millions, or were you just concentrating on telling simple stories, meaningful stories, one at a time?
Absolutely never imagined that it would reach that scale.
Yes.
When we started, our hope was just that it would get circulated among our friends and family and maybe, their immediate circles. And at least a few hundred people would read the stories, get inspired, maybe want to do something, with that information, with the kind of inspiration that they get. That was really the thought, that let's get somewhere, let's just tell these stories and see how people respond.
Yes.
It was actually the response that blew us over. We were absolutely not responding, expecting hundreds of people to respond within the next, few months. The story started going beyond our immediate circles to friends of friends and so on and so forth through word of mouth, and it eventually started reaching thousands of people in a few maybe in a year's time. And the amazing part was not just the fact that so many people were reading or consuming these stories, but the fact that tens or hundreds out of them actually wanted to do something after reading the stories.
Yes, I think that's the difference, right?
That is.
Reading and reaching out is one thing,
Yeah.
and wanting to do something about it, I think that's where the change really happens,
Absolutely.
isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So even our storytelling mechanism is very rooted in impact. It's not really about reading a feel-good story or,
Yes.
the whole idea of when you say positive storytelling or positive content, a lot of times people think it's about, feel-good stories. But
Yes.
for us, it was very important that people take away from these stories something important, something that pushes them or nudges them towards making a difference of their own. It's not just about reading a story and saying, hey, what an amazing person, and patting them on the back and saying, great, good for them and good that they could do it.
Yes.
But more about, hey, if that person can do something like
Yeah.
that, why can't I?
Yeah, it's stirring something within them to want to also follow suit and want to do something. I think
Absolutely.
that's the impact that the Better India is creating, and I think that's wonderful, Anu. That's really wonderful. But before Better India, the Better India was the success that it is today. Were there any moments of doubt? Were they along the journey I'm talking about? Were there any challenges? Were there any moments where you felt there were too many roadblocks, and how did you navigate through them?
Yeah, absolutely. There are always challenges, right? And especially in a journey where you're starting off, where there have been no precedents, there have been no such projects or enterprises ever taken. There are bound to be, and we had I think more than our fair share of challenges. But the interesting thing, Joyce, is that there have been a lot of people who really encouraged us as well.
Okay.
So the kind of challenges we would face is, starting from everyone we came across and we spoke to about this idea and who we shared with, apart from our readers and, supporters who from the beginning believed that,
Yes.
there was something powerful in what we were doing. Even our well-wishers, even for instance, our parents and family would think, okay, is this the right path for you all? Is this something that you should be doing at this time, at the prime of your life, when you're just
Yes.
out of B school and you all have, you have education loans, you have families, you're just starting off, all of these things. Is this the right time to really, get into, say, social work or developmental work and things like that, right? Most people, especially at in that generation, really believed that there was a time for such things, and that time was after you're retired. You have time on your hand. You have enough to see you through and things like that, right? So this concept of actually taking up, starting up something in the developmental space, where there are so many uncertainties, where there's so little, reward in terms of monetary reward and all of that stuff was quite unheard of, and was quite aggravating for a lot of people who were in our close circles as well, right? And beyond that, when we spoke to professionals from the media industry, also they would be like, oh, this is really, we don't see a future in this. I mean, if we did, we would have taken it up ourselves, but positive news doesn't sell, was their advice. And they said, there's no point you guys doing this, because this is something tried and tested, and we know it doesn't work. People, it's only negativity that sells, it's only sensationalism that sells.
It's only
People just want
controversy
to,
that sells.
people thrive on that.
Yes.
So we felt, okay, that's fine, but we just want to try this because we feel very strongly about such stories. And I'm sure that at least a handful of people like us who also will feel strongly about these stories will want to know more about such work that is happening in our country. So from that perspective, we still continued. I would say the time that we were in, like today you have so much content, you have so many content creators, you have so many media publishers, but at the time we were starting off, digital media was very, very nascent. Getting anyone, any companies to come and think of working with us, and our model was also very different. We were not doing plain Jane advertising. We wanted companies to come and support causes and things like that, which was again so different for the companies to get their heads around. It was difficult to do fundraising because again, everybody we spoke to would ask, who has done it before? Show us successful models of this, having worked in our country or anywhere else in the world. And we didn't have any success. I mean, we didn't have anything.
Those models didn't really
show.
exist
Like,
at that
there
point
were
in
no
time.
other parallel companies that we could say, hey, there's so and so that's worked there in this part of the world, so it should work here. So it was very difficult for people to take those kind of risks, because most people are risk averse, and they don't know, when they don't see success written on the walls, they don't want to take the chance. So that's been a challenge all along. I think we've loved to. I think we've enjoyed the journey more so because we started everything from scratch. We lay down our own rules all along the way because they did not exist. And we have surmounted some amazing challenges. But I think that's also been the path that we took on. And we said, let's do it. Like if no one else has done it, let's just go ahead and carve the route.
And it takes so much of grit and courage and to actually go forward despite all the challenges that come your way.
But I don't know.
Yes, of course.
Those are big words, but I don't know. Like, I think it was just, I don't know, pig-headed determination that we want to do this. The more people would say this could not be done, I think the more determined we got that we will make it work.
And you did it. And you did it.
I think we did it.
So today, if you were to start from ground zero, okay, hypothetical, no team, no brand, what is the first thing, Anu, you would actually build?
So we started out by telling stories, right, Joyce? We tell, even today we tell over like 4,000 stories every month. We have an amazing reach and audience. I think one thing that we would probably do a little differently, I would probably do a little differently if I was to start again, would be to maybe build a community around it. Okay, so we have an audience, we have an incredible audience.
Yes.
What I would also like to do, and today we're working on that part, is to build that audience into a community. Today we do have a thriving community, but it took all these years to turn an audience into a community. If I was to start from the beginning, I would start with the community. I would say, okay, let's let people get together and do this.
Yes.
Right? So that's something now we're consciously doing. We run a lot of our campaigns. We have an amazing community of people who come out and help out with each of the campaigns.
That's brilliant.
But I would probably flip the narrative a little bit around and say, okay, let's first bring all the people who want to do something. And not just complain, but want to challenge the status quo, want to work on problems, and bring them together and start by telling those stories.
Wow. Okay, Anu, I'd like to zoom out a little bit on the media today, and you've said a little bit about the media, but I feel today media really thrives on outrage, negative news. So much of bad news, so much of making a spectacle out of people's lives. We've seen that time and time again. It still happens till today. And some way I feel it's even at the cost of their privacy and their dignity. I've grown up watching news on television. I've seen my parents read the newspaper in the morning. So I followed suit, and I've done that for the longest time. But today when I pick up the newspaper, I'm really drained with all the negativity. But that being said, the Better India has adopted a very different path, telling stories about change and hope. Well, what according to you, when you tell these stories, these positive stories, do you think they have the power to transform society, and how do they do that?
Absolutely. I think not only do they transform society, they change mindsets. They make people believe that there are other possibilities. Because when you are always surrounded by negative news, or you're always told that there are problems and what can one person do about it, what can you alone make a difference, it starts playing on your mind. I mean, at the end of the day, stories are what shape how we think about the world, how we see the world around us.
Yes.
And when you're talking about stories of hope and change and resilience, you're telling people that change is possible, that there are people like you and me who are challenging status quo, who are doing something despite their own circumstances. So even if one person wants to make a difference, it's possible, because today you see how people are using social media, how, even if you were to educate one kid in your neighborhood, or you were to plant one tree, you are still contributing to society. So what stories like this show people is that every action you do counts, and every one of us matters. Every one of us can change society. Every drop in the ocean counts, right?
Yes.
So it's the same way that each one of us, with our little or big actions, can really impact the world around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings me to the thousands of stories. You just mentioned that 4,000 stories a month. Wow, that's amazing. Well, when I encountered the Better India, and when I started reading these stories, there were so many stories that personally touched my heart. And these are from the lengths and breadths of Goa. You can't imagine stories like these would ever reach us if it wasn't for the platform. So, has there been any story, one story, that has stayed with you a little longer? A story that has inspired you personally, and that has probably perhaps changed the way you think today?
I would be amiss if I was to pick one story, Joyce,
Yes.
because it's really, I would say, each and every story has shaped who I am, how I feel about things, my worldview. I think each and every story that we've covered really contributes to that, right? So the amazing persons and personalities we encounter, I think it's been more about and overall the pattern of the storytelling, it's been about seeing a pattern of humility among our own changemakers, they never feel like they're doing something extraordinary. They all appear or think that they are doing something regular.
Yes.
They feel that even the ones, some of them might be saving hundreds of orphans from destitution, sending them to school, or saving millions of liters of water, or planting thousands of trees and things like that. But each and every one of them feels that they are doing something that needed to be done.
Yes.
Their feeling is that someone had to do it.
Yes.
So it was me.
So there's so much of groundedness
There's so much
in these stories.
groundedness.
And I think that's the beauty of all
Absolutely.
of them. Yes.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why we are about that unsung hero, about that regular citizen who goes out and makes a difference despite their circumstances.
Yes.
Despite no other support. Despite, we tend to think that it is the heroes who change the world.
Yes.
But it's not.
Yes.
All the heroes we cover are the ones who don't wear capes.
Yes.
They're just all around us.
Very much, very much. That's so inspiring to hear. And now that we're talking about change, it really brings me to, the fact that you've built a company, you run a full-fledged company, in Better India. And at the same time, you're raising a teenager, which are both full-time jobs. And
they're almost the same age.
Yeah.
My company and my teenager.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And you're doing both of this while you're growing your company so beautifully and raising a beautiful boy. I think, there is a lot of balancing act that goes behind this. Anu, what does that balancing act look like?
Yeah. Oh, God. That's a great question. So, Joyce, I think there's never a balance. You can never achieve that perfect balance, which that hypothetical balance we all try to talk about or achieve. It's always, I think it's sometimes I find work takes up more time. Some weeks, you have to contribute more time to work. Sometimes it's family that demands more time. And you're always just trying to kind of, manage both. What I believe is more important than trying to get that balance or chasing that balance is to make sure that your child or your children see that you are doing meaningful work.
Yes.
That the time that you spend at work can actually contribute to society in some way.
Yes.
Right? And I feel that children gain so much more by seeing what you do than what you tell them.
Yes, that's so inspiring. Yes.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, a child really grows and develops into a human being after absorbing everything from their surroundings.
Yes.
Right? And showing that work can be meaningful. Work is important. It can contribute in very positive ways. I think that's a lot more important than just giving them time.
I think that's such a brilliant thought, Anu. It's really struck a chord with me, because I totally believe that when children see is when they do.
Exactly.
And I think that's the universal truth.
Absolutely.
And they say that entrepreneurship teaches you so many lessons that no classroom ever will teach you. What are some of these lessons you want to consciously pass on to your child?
I do agree that entrepreneurship teaches you so much. But, today I feel in today's day and age, entrepreneurship is also getting very over-romanticized.
Yes.
There is a joy in just learning. There is a joy in experimenting. There's a joy in being curious and trying out new things, which in some ways, when we are all thinking about entrepreneurship and starting up and all these terms that have come into the picture and have got, so glamorized, somewhere I think the simple joys of learning are getting lost.
Yes, very much.
So while entrepreneurship teaches you a lot, but so does simple learning. So does simply fidgeting and trying out things on your own
Getting
and
bored as well.
failing
Yes.
and boredom.
Yes.
I think boredom is so undervalued today.
Yes, very
As
much.
I think it's a life skill.
It is a life
It
skill.
needs
I
to be
agree with you.
developed.
Very
Yeah.
much. Very
I think
much.
kids today are so overstimulated
Yes.
that they have no concept of boredom, right?
Mhm.
And that boredom is what leads to creativity, to new thinking,
Yes.
to thinking out of the box, to all of those things. I really think like kids sometimes just need to be able to be by themselves and absorb the world around them and see what they can do, what their
Yes.
role can be in
Yes,
society.
and I think that's where all the ideas are going to come in.
Absolutely.
And when you rightly said romanticizing, because I want to zoom out on social media today. What is social media doing? It is actually glorifying entrepreneurship, and it could be good as well.
Absolutely.
But when I'm doom scrolling, or when I'm watching all these videos one after the other, I've been told that I can start a good company. I've been told that I can start a couple of companies, And, today when youth and youngsters and teenagers are watching all of these videos, that puts a lot of pressure on them, because they've been told that if you build a company, if you are involved in a startup, you'll be successful.
Absolutely.
But there's always a second side to the other side of the story, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
a coin has two sides.
Yes.
And what about the fact that, the hardships that go into it, the challenges? Are you really made to do this? So I think there has to be
Absolutely.
an informed decision that youth have to take.
Absolutely.
Would you like to throw some light from your perspective, as a founder, as a co-founder? What is it that youth need to understand about this?
So that's a great question, Joyce, and how you put it, right? Because today, youth feel that, we live in a world of instant gratification.
Yes.
Right? You put out a post on social media and you start seeing likes and comments and things like that immediately.
Yes.
Or you start thinking there's something wrong and you again start questioning yourself. So all of us live in this world of, instant feedback, instant stimulation, instant gratification, and all of that. So it's so hard for them to kind of step back from this world that we have created around us and see if there is a deeper meaning in what they are doing. Right? How can they really contribute in more meaningful ways? So I would say, if we were to look at, what could the youth today do to be able to contribute more meaningfully, or to look at being more successful in a deeper way, right, than the superficial ways we see around us today. I would say two things, right? One is for them to understand that what they are working on, is it really grounded in reality, or is it something that they feel is important from the echo chambers that you've created around you? Because at the end of the day, social media is an echo chamber.
Yes.
And all of it's algorithm driven.
Yes.
Right? It feeds you what you want to know and what you want to see.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So if the youth, or if anyone, all of us, lot of times we get blindsided by our own ideas and our own thoughts. And most of the time, they may not be grounded in any reality.
Yes.
So the important feedback, the important thing for them to do is to step back and see in isolation whether that idea works in the real world, whether it solves an actual problem, whether it matters in the real world.
Yes.
So that is the fundamental thing, the first thing that I would advise any youth to really look at first. The second thing, again, an aspect of, over glorifying entrepreneurship and starting up and all of this, is really for them to take time to give anything that they're building, give it time.
Yes.
Give it time to develop, give it time to grow, to nurture. Because today, again, we live in such a fast-paced world that we want everything to happen instantly. And most things, you look at the Better India, it's been almost a 2-decade journey for us.
Yes.
Where we are today is a matter of nurturing and building and growing and innovating and falling and failing and experimenting over almost 2 decades.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
So when people expect things to happen like, in an instant, and it doesn't happen and then they're disappointed, it's something that you're setting it up for yourself.
Yes.
Because anything meaningful, for it to grow, needs time.
Yes.
A sapling, for it to grow into a tree,
It
needs time, needs the right amount of nurturing, the right amount of water, soil, manure, everything.
Yes.
Because if you try to grow it overnight,
And
because
expect
you need it for
fruits.
your social media,
Yes.
it really is
Yes.
never going to
And
be
I think
strong.
that's very enlightening. And I want the viewers listening, especially parents, to take note, because I think this is the message we need to, send out to our children, that
Yeah.
communication has to be very clear, because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, we are the caregivers to our children. And I think
Yeah.
if we pass on this message, I think it's going to be brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And, since we are talking about, parenting, we also are in the examination season, and that can get very overwhelming, isn't it? For not just for the child, but for the
Yeah.
entire family. And our sons have just finished their board exams recently, and we know what that stress is. But I think, a lot of mums want to know, or mums and dads want to know, how do you navigate or help your child navigate this stress, this examination stress, in a very positive and healthy way?
Right. I think it is very important, like you said, Joyce, it's very important for us to help them navigate it. And I feel the most important way that we can help them navigate it is to help ourselves navigate it.
Yes.
Because most of the time, the stress that children feel is the stress that parents pass on.
Very much.
So the fundamental thing to solve for is not the child, but it's us.
It's us.
It's our mental health, it's our physical well-being, it's our feelings, emotions, all of that we need to resolve, because it's us who pass it on to the child. So if we are able to resolve that, that's, I think, more than half the battle won.
Half the battle is won. Yes.
The second part is, I think, empathetic communication with your child.
Yeah.
Right? Telling them constantly, letting them know and feel and believe that it's really, I mean, examinations is just one form of feedback. Right? It doesn't define the person that you are or the person that you will become.
Yes.
So let's not give undue importance. Yes, they are important, but they are not life-defining in the way that
Very
we have
much.
always believed,
Yes.
them to
And
be.
a thought comes to my mind many a times when I worked with parents in my line of work. Many a times parents say this to their child,
Yeah.
that your grades are not important. You are important. You give it your best shot.
Yeah.
But they don't believe it themselves.
Yes.
I think the change comes when you truly believe in the fact that grades are not important. I'm there for you. I know I'm going to push you because I know you can achieve it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand what's important. And I think parents have to
Absolutely.
learn to know the difference between just
Absolutely.
saying it
Yeah.
and not inculcating it in their life.
Absolutely.
I
They
think-
need to be able to believe in it so truly. Only then will they be able
Yes.
to, make someone
Yes.
else believe it.
Because
they need to
a child,
internalize it.
yes, and a child knows exactly
it.
what the parent is
Exactly.
feeling.
A child knows when the parent
Yes.
is trying, is saying something that they inherently don't believe in.
Very
right?
much.
And I also believe that the way to do this, again, it's a mindset shift.
Yes.
Because we've all grown up in a generation which believed that examinations were the make it or break it moments
Very
in our
much.
life. Right?
Yes.
That was inculcated in us.
Yes.
And it's very hard for us today to break out of that belief
Yes.
as well. Right?
True.
So
True.
the way we are also trying at the Better India, the way we try to achieve this is to constantly, regularly talk about success stories of people who, despite their grades, who may not have been rock stars in school
Yes.
in terms of their academic performance, but have still gone on to have very meaningful, successful lives.
Yes. And we see so many of them
There are so
today.
many
Yes.
such examples, and I think the best way to believe things is through stories.
Yes, I agree with
When
you.
you have real world stories that tell you that, hey, there are examples of this happening,
Yes.
that's when you actually start changing your mind.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's all theory or hypothetical, and you
Very
just have
much.
to suspend your belief to believe that that doesn't work.
Yes, very much. And since we're talking about parenting, I think today parenting is difficult. It's very difficult because we are parenting in the age of technology,
Yeah,
in the age of scrolling incessantly, in the age of smartphones, social media. Anu,
absolutely.
how do you do this? How do you maintain that? That whole, I know I'm going to use the word balance, which is not your favorite word, but how do you balance or how do you navigate, screen time and, digital boundaries at home?
Yeah, so Joyce, that's an interesting question and very relevant in our times. Um, the way to the way I look at it is that technology is here to stay, right? There's no way
Yes,
that we can keep the phones away from our children or our children away from phones. It's a losing battle if we keep trying to do
that's
that. It
right.
is a
Yes,
constant battle, right? Forget kids. I mean, we ourselves are not able to handle digital addiction.
true.
It's a lot to expect from, say, a teenager or anything like that. I think the more important thing, or what we can really focus on instead, is not how much of screen time they're using, but how they are using the screen time, right? I think that's the most positive way in which we can change our outlook and the narrative for them to guide our children towards more productive use of gadgets, rather than trying to put limitations on them, which almost never work,
Yes,
right? So we could probably guide our kids to understanding or navigating through the digital world by asking them, how is their screen time helping them learn better
yeah,
or faster, for instance, or how can they solve real world problems using their
yes,
digital devices, right? There are ways in which we could actually help them see the possibilities of using screen time in a more positive way,
yes,
beyond just entertainment or scrolling and things like that, which is natural. I mean, the
yeah,
algorithms are built in such a way that they are meant to keep you hooked,
absolutely.
right? But what you do with that screen time, what you take away, and what you're able to achieve, or you're able to kind of use that knowledge, or all of that screen time, what kind of use are you able to put it to, I think is a lot more
Yes,
important.
yes. And Anu, is there any digital habit that you consciously model for your child? I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I think for me the most important thing has been to actually set myself away from screens, have a
Mhm.
digital detox every
Yes,
now and then, because
yes.
it does get a lot. Once you are
Mhm.
hooked to it, it starts taking over your life. And
Yes.
for me, I think I consciously stay away from social media,
Mhm.
and also from putting up personal things on social media, which is a habit I try to inculcate, because I feel there is so much of your private information out there that can be used and misused in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
So that's a small, tiny habit. I think I try to. I hope the kids see and
And
understand
and
what's the
understand.
reason behind
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to shift gears here, Anu, and I'm going to go to my favorite part, Goa. It is slow, they say. It is rhythmic. To me, it's
Mm.
sushegad in a
Mm.
very content kind of way. There's a lot of contentment in the word sushegad. But
Right.
what drew you to Goa from your busy, bustling city life in Bangalore? And I also want to ask you, living in Goa, has it changed the way you look at your career and life in general?
So that is interesting, and of course, something that we should really talk about. Uh, the reasons are exactly what you mentioned, Joyce. It is the slow, rhythmic pace of life. I would say, it's not even so much just the slowness, but it's really about the space that you
Yes.
get for thinking, which
Mm-hmm.
is today missing in our cities, because they're so full of stimulation. You feel so overstimulated. It's so
Yes.
noisy. It's so chaotic that you
Right.
really have no time to think. You have no space to think.
Yes.
And a place like Goa really allows you to cut off from all of that noise, to be able to dedicate more time to yourself, your family, and it really helps creative careers as well, because you're actually able to get that kind of space to think.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, I agree with you. In fact, a lot of people think Goa is all about the beaches and the parties. And I think that's the narrative somewhere, that's Goa is full of parties. Of course, we have
Yeah,
beautiful beaches, but there's so much more
so
to
much
Goa.
more.
And I can't think of anybody else, other than you, who can, really highlight
Oh
on this
yeah.
side of Goa, whether it is the Serendipity Arts
Oh
Festivals,
yes.
whether it's the International Film Festival, and there's a thriving cultural scene in Goa.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
at any point in time, I know that you'd be there, out there,
Yes.
watching films, or going through art stalls
Absolutely,
around
absolutely. I've
Panjim,
enjoyed that.
and you can really immerse yourself in all of this.
Yes.
Anu, I
Yes.
want you, as a person who's experienced this side of Goa, I want you to tell all of us about this side of Goa that we still don't
Yeah,
understand.
so I'll be really happy to do that, because that's one of my favorite topics. I can go on and on about that. But there is just so much more that Goa has to offer. I think it especially matters because, like, we are not into partying or drinking, or most other people think about Goa, or the kind of
Yes.
tourist crowd that comes in seeking such things. And we just feel really sad to look at that, because if Goa has a reputation for parties and happening crowd, that's really not all that Goa is about.
Yes, it's one part
It's
of
just a
Goa.
perception of
Yes,
Goa in the mind
yes.
of the tourist as such. But there's so much, like, I've really found myself immersing in the culture even more so than Bangalore, because it's so much easier today to get around in Goa than it is in Bangalore. Even in Bangalore, if there's a lot more happening, also it's very hard to get to places. Like, I have to plan so much to get to a place
That's
which
the first
could
time
take
I'm
2 hours
hearing
away, right?
someone from a metro city saying that it's easier to get
Get
around in
around,
Goa with all
absolutely.
of its taxi,
No,
issues.
of course, you need your
But
own
yeah,
vehicle. That's a
yes,
given. I
yes,
mean, that's unfortunately a sad thing about Goa, because they should have more public transport and things
absolutely.
like that. So if you're coming in without your own vehicle, it is a bit difficult for sure. But if you're living here, I mean, the kind of cultural immersion that you can get, and you can immerse yourself in, is incredible. From film festivals to a lot of arts festivals,
To music
to music
festivals.
festivals,
Yes.
to even handicrafts, local handicrafts, local food, and biodiversity. There's a lot of biodiversity here.
Yes.
People can go for so many treks all around the
Yes.
Western Ghats, which is so undervalued
And
today.
not spoken
Not
about.
spoken about. Hardly anyone knows that there are such amazing ghats here, and so many treks and trails that you can go on. And all of this other part of Goa is completely unknown to most people, and it's such a sad thing
Yes.
that most people have this perception of Goa, that it's all about the parties and the beaches. While the beaches are amazing, and there's so many activities on the beaches also that can just go beyond the banana boats and those kind of
Yes.
things.
Yes.
But it's an incredible place, because in addition to all of the arts festivals and all that we spoke about, there's a lot of other things. Like, there's the Ironman, half Ironman that happens here. There's the Purple Fest that happens here, which is about
Yes.
persons with disabilities get a chance to showcase their work. There's so much else happening here, which I found amazing. And like I said, for me, the incredible part is, yes, a lot of this happens in Bangalore and other metros, maybe a lot more also, but the access and the easy availability, the easy access is I think something unique to Goa.
Yes,
Because
that's-
not only is it easy to get to places, most of these things are, free or very reasonably priced for the public, which is again something very amazing about this place.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Yes, and they say that living in Goa really changes you.
Hmm.
Anu, has it changed you? Has it made you a better entrepreneur, or has it just made you a much happier human being? What is it?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question, Joyce. Yeah, I would say for sure. Like I think right off the hook, I can say for sure. I'm just thinking more deeply about in what ways, right? Um, I think the truth is that when you remove the noise and the chaos, it automatically makes your mind more relaxed,
Yes.
right? And if your mind is relaxed, your ability to deal with things, especially the lemons that life throws at you, is also
Yes.
gets better,
True.
right? So I think that is something that Goa definitely offers you in terms of um, the Susegard, like you said, is
Yeah.
one aspect of it, but the nature that we see, the way we are able to immerse ourselves, you just step out of home and you're surrounded by nature.
Yes.
You have trees all around you, is so much greenery, you have rivers and lakes and ponds, and you have so much biodiversity, you have so much flora and fauna, so many amazing birds that are native to the state. It's just incredible, and that itself is very relaxing and calming, and helps you really find more meaning in what you do.
Yes, and this question I ask all my guests now that you've made Goa your home. How do you want to give back to Goa very meaningfully?
That's a very interesting question, and there are so many different ways in which I could answer that. But I would say the fundamental way is to probably leverage something that I'm already doing, which is telling stories of change. And the best part is that Goa, being a state where there's so much fodder for this that already exists. There are so many amazing people that I've come across, that I've met in the last 4 years, who have been giving back to society in different ways, who are trailblazers in their own ways, who are environmentalists, activists, and different ways in which they are bringing about a change, and also making people more aware about empowering people,
Yes.
and democratizing change in different ways.
Yes.
Right? So we've come across so many such amazing people. We've been fortunate to cover many of them and their work, and amplify their work through our platform, bring more visibility and positive outcomes for their work. So very happy to start with that and be able to be a part of this amazing changemaker community that Goa has.
Wow, that's amazing. Anu, I'm going to now talk about a topic that is very close to my heart. It's education. Well, what do you think schools play an important role in building life skills for children? How important do you think it is? And as an entrepreneur, someone who's built a successful startup like the Better India, what skills do you think youngsters need to build today to, be prepared for the world?
That's really a nice question, Joyce, and so relevant in today's day and age where things are changing so rapidly, right? I don't even know, like as parents, we sometimes struggle to think what should we focus on, what should our kids, learn in the future, what is going to be the future of learning,
Yes.
right? And for schools, I'm sure it's doubly hard because they have a responsibility towards their kids to ensure that they are, preparing for the future. And the future is ever evolving. So, how do they
Yes.
keep up? I think the most important thing that that all schools will just have to focus on today is to build that sense of curiosity in
Yes.
every child. At the risk of sounding like a cliche, but I really believe that today, more than ever, it is important for children to just develop a love for learning and a love for asking questions
Yes.
and being curious. I mean, you just don't know what real skills are going to matter in the future, but just building life skills like getting more prepared to learn, to ask the right questions, to develop your own judgment, to solve problems, to look at the world from a solutions lens. Like,
Yes.
how can I do something that solves a problem, that solves a real world problem? That how can I build something or create something with my own hands,
Yes.
or and use my mind to actually think of something new or think of a new solution for this problem, or how can I make a difference? I think those are the things that are going to matter more in the long run than all of our textbooks. Because today, I mean, even my son today keeps asking me the same thing: where am I going to use this?
Yes.
Where am I going to use this chemical equation, or this mathematical formula, or all of those things? And it's
Yes.
very hard for us to correlate that, all of that learning, to the real world.
Very
I
much.
think today what matters are real world examples. If
Yes.
we can show our children through our stories of real people solving real problems on the ground, I think that will lead to a lot more of developing a problem solving mindset
Yes.
than all of your
Very much. and and
theoretical
and and
education.
schools do play a very important role,
Absolutely.
yes, in bringing this to the forefront, so
Absolutely.
students and parents can understand all of this. Well, if you were to, I'm giving you a power, no? If you were to redesign, if I give you the power to redesign the educational policies in India, okay, no examination obsession, no board pressure, what are the first few changes that you would make?
Wow, I feel powerful right now. Yes. Yeah, actually, I've thought about this a lot, Joyce, because
Yes.
what I've seen over the years and what I believe is, like, the stories we tell are the stories that children need to learn from, to read, to know about the people who are solving problems, right? Who are not accepting a no for an answer, who are not accepting that this is how things are supposed to be, and this is, what can one person do? These
Yes.
are the people who are saying that, hey, even if I'm making a small difference, it is a difference, and I still want to do it,
Yes.
right? So if I was to redesign the education system that we have, I would move it away from being a center of information to a center of thinking.
Wow.
Okay, because information is all around us today. It's at the tip of your finger, at your
Yes.
fingertips, right?
Yes.
You do not need to memorize things anymore. You do not need to just become a dictionary or a thesaurus or a encyclopedia, because everything is there at your
Is available
fingertips.
today.
What you
Yes.
really need to do is develop an ability to think on your toes,
Yes.
to be able to look at the world around you and see how can you do something to change things for the better.
Yes. And now that you said that, information is available at our fingertips, we're all shying away from this one thing, which is AI. AI is already changing the
Absolutely.
landscape today, whether it's education, whether it's our workplaces, it's reshaping it so much. And,
Absolutely.
there's this fear, a narrative that is built around technology. And I understand parents are protecting their children from screen time and even from AI. But is shielding your child from all of this information, I know, the really the right approach? What do you think? And also, I feel, isn't it important for parents to understand what AI is, take that moment, understand it, and then impart that knowledge to their children so that they can use it wisely and safely?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Joyce, there is no point in shielding your children. I mean, if
Yeah.
you do that, it's probably detrimental to the child, because they are not learning. I mean, they are actually being shielded from the real world,
Yes.
because AI is here, it's here to stay. We cannot, remain in oblivion and think that it'll go away. That's really not the right approach, right?
Yes.
It's not constructive, it's not positive. The way you need to navigate around this is the same way that we navigated around the internet, right? The
Yes.
rise of the internet led to a complete change in our perspective and the way the way we lead our lives, the same thing, the same fundamental change today is happening with AI, where we're never going to be the same again. Our children are never going to
Yes.
be the same again,
True.
right? They're growing in an age where they today, they can also get everything. Like, for instance, coding was such a major skill set, right?
Yes.
So coveted, so highly paid. Today you can get an AI to vibe code for you anything that you want, from a website
Yes.
to an app to anything. So what happens tomorrow? The future is so uncertain. And if children are shielded from all of this, they will really grow up in a world where they don't know how to navigate themselves, their futures, their careers. They won't know what's happening around them.
Yes.
And that's really not the way you want your children to
True.
be, right? They cannot be oblivious to the realities of the world.
Yes.
You really have to be able to guide them on the more constructive use of technology, whichever one it is. Internet in the last few decades, today it's AI, but everything needs to be used with the right regulations, the right guardrails,
Yes.
and the right direction from parents and other caregivers around them.
Absolutely.
That's really the right way to move
Yes,
forward.
and that's really well said, Anu, really well said. Well, that brings me to the last bit where you are going to give us some word of advice to
Oh,
everybody who wants to, go in that direction of building startups, and just your final thoughts for today.
Oh, okay. When anyone asks me for advice, I feel so old. I'm not that old. I don't want
Just,
to give
okay,
advice.
let's say inspiration.
Yeah. So so it's not really advice, but I can just share something from my experience, right?
Yes.
It's been more about a journey of doing something different, challenging the norms, building something that did not exist before. And I think that's been a really fun journey, all the
Yes.
more so because it's also been so satisfying and fulfilling, because it was impactful and meaningful, because we've impacted millions of lives.
Yes.
We've brought a shift in mindset, we've brought a shift in the narrative
Right.
of the nation. And the way, what my experience has taught me is really about the fact that inspiration doesn't come, at in large moments.
Mhm.
It's really a build-up of small incremental steps that
Yes.
leads to larger movements of change,
Yes.
right? There are no dramatic moments. There are a few, but we cannot keep waiting for those dramatic moments to happen. It takes away from all of us being a part of the solution.
Yes.
And what I would really like every Indian to be is to be a part of the solution rather than being a part of the problem.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for being a part of Unscripted with Joyce. This
My
has
pleasure.
been amazing. It's so lovely to have you, not just as a friend today, but as a powerful powerhouse of knowledge and inspiration. This was your Unscripted, and it was truly inspiring.
Thank you so much, Joyce. It was lovely being here, and I'm happy to share my thoughts with you at any time. But this was lovely. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anu. Thank you for sharing your journey, the very inspiring journey behind the Better India, for demystifying startups and entrepreneurship. Thank you for your views on parenting, on the education system, and technology. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow and subscribe. And stay connected with me on Instagram, where we continue our sosegado and intentional conversations. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and stay unscripted.